just cuts off all of the nutrients. Does this have a lighter too? An igniter? Oh, that's fancy compared to the last one I had. So I'm going to be packing light for the day hike today. Don't need a whole lot, but I've got my lunch, the spork for the lunch, stove and cup to boil water. And this is the stove itself. This is my little first aid kit and emergency bag. So there's a personal locator beacon in here, which is kind of like a Garmin inReach, but it only has the SOS function, so you don't have to pay for the satellite messaging or anything like that. So just renew it every year, pay for it once. I've had this one for about 5 years now. Obviously never had to use it. Hopefully I never do, but it's there in case I do. And then I've got some butterfly strips in there in case I cut myself open. I can at least close it up so where I can get home or back to the truck. So that's just a little mini first aid kit, survival kit. And then this is my bathroom bag in case I need it. I've got a little trowel so that I can dig a hole, little cat hole, toilet paper, and hand sanitizer. And obviously water. Then I've got my trekking poles. This is the backpack itself. This is a Waymark backpack, and because it's basically an overnight backpack, it's really made for holding a tent or a hammock or something like that. I'm going to be putting this light little down blanket in the bottom just to kind of give it some structure and some bulk. It weighs nothing, but I figured it would be a good idea to have it just in case we get stranded out there. We've got the emergency blanket in this, and it's getting kind of cold, so that'll keep us warm in case the worst happens. So I'm going to get packed up and finish drinking my coffee, and then we're going to drive over to the trailhead. So we've got about a 30-minute drive over to the Borden Creek trailhead from where I camped last night. I'm pulling the camper with me because that's really a primitive campsite and I don't really feel comfortable leaving it there. And I'll probably camp at a different spot tonight. So. Good boy. All right, let's go see what Clifty Canyon has for us today. Let's see, right about here is where I camped last night, and we are right there at that red dot. Got a nice, cool, breezy, wet, overcast fall day. It's a little bit chilly, but once I get my blood flowing, should warm up nicely. We're gonna take the Brazil Trail down to Clifty Canyon. Parked at Borden Trailhead. I'm going to hang a right at the creek, follow the creek kind of northeast until we get to the canyon, and then I'll need to cross the creek and go over into the canyon. Supposedly there are a lot of waterfalls. It'll be interesting to see if the rain that we've had the last few days and weeks is enough to actually get them flowing, or if they're still kind of dried up. But one thing is, I hope we don't get rained on, because it'll be a cold walk back. I've got this is a rain jacket, and then I've got my poncho in my backpack, but I don't have any bottoms, I don't have any pants, so yeah, fingers crossed we don't get rained on.
So these hemlocks are what are called a keystone species here in Bankhead National Forest. Entire ecosystems depend on these hemlocks to survive. They keep the water cool, they keep the ground shaded, and provide a lot of habitat for birds and other animals. One thing that you might not know about them is that there's a pest that has pretty much infected all of the other hemlock populations except for what is here in Bankhead National Forest, and that's the hemlock woolly adelgid. And since Bankhead National Forest is just disconnected from the rest of the hemlock populations in the Appalachians and the Pacific Northwest, they haven't made it here. And the hope is that they never do. But definitely keep that in mind if you're traveling from North Carolina, North Georgia, Eastern Tennessee.
And I also wanted to add Northeast Alabama to the list, Mentone and Fort Payne.
In those areas down to Bankhead National Forest. Before you get here, just wash all of your gear, spray everything down with hydrogen peroxide, throw it in the washing machine, whatever you need to do to really sterilize and clean that gear to keep the adelgid from coming down here. It's a little tiny aphid-like insect, and it makes a little woolly egg sacs at the base of the needles of the hemlock tree, and it just cuts off all of the nutrients and kills them. If you go up to, say, Clingman's Dome in Tennessee, you'll see the damage that it's done. So definitely want to keep that in mind as you're traveling.
Are you gonna help me?
I will say this is pretty good. The chicken doesn't seem like it rehydrated properly, but it's probably user error. Well, I'm a little bit worried about having enough daylight left to get back if I keep exploring down the canyon. The time just changed, so I'm a little bit hesitant to keep going. Especially with it being overcast, it's going to get dark even sooner. So this was a beautiful spot to sit and have lunch. It's definitely worth the hike, but we're going to start heading back now. Well, the sun decided to come out. I might have had enough time to continue exploring down the canyon, but it's always a good idea to stay on the safe side. So, I wish I had a little bit more time to continue exploring, but I might have to come back and do that on an overnight backpacking trip. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see some backpacking trips, overnight or just day hikes like this. Well, all right, y'all, that's gonna wrap this up. That was a fun hike out to Clifty Canyon and back. I definitely want to go when I've got more time and more daylight, or even on an overnight, and continue up the canyon, because I know there's a long way up there to get to Clifty Falls. I probably, even with the amount of daylight that I have now, the sun came out, I kind of feel a little bit silly for not continuing up a little bit. But again, if I'd have kept going, who knows, it might have started raining and I'd have been in, kind of in bad luck. But anyways, I almost forgot to recap the hike. So I went right at 6 miles. I think it took about 4 hours and maybe 150 feet of elevation gain. So not much elevation gain at all, but that's still was a good fun hike and definitely worth the trip. Appreciate y'all for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will catch y'all on the next one. See, I told y'all it would start raining, so I made the good choice and got out when I did.